A big thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this week's video.
Morning everybody and Merry Christmas. Today I've got something that it seems everybody likes, and that's a critique session. I asked on my email newsletter if you submit your photos, and in one day I got 900 photos, which is ridiculous. So thanks everyone so much, and if you are interested in participating in one of these in the future, I'll leave a link in the description to subscribe to the newsletter. But basically I've gone through those images and I'm going to go through and critique them. So I'm going to point out the mistakes, and you can play along as well, because I'll show the photo and maybe you pause the video, have a look at it, see what you think's right or wrong with it, and see if you agree with me or not. I'm not saying I'm right. Obviously composition is very subjective, but there's some things that I think whenever I look through photos, there's always some common mistakes, so hopefully we'll be able to find some of those, and we'll also find some of the common good points about these photos as well. So I've got my iPad in front of me. Wait till the end of the video as well, because I'm going to give away a camera, or I'm going to tell you how you may be able to get a camera, and also I'm going to give away a print to anybody that participated and submitted photos to this. Right, let's get into it. So onto my iPad. Right, so this is the first one. This is a lovely wooden scene. You've got a little bit of fog, which I really like, and you're really concentrated on this branch here, which I think is really good. I really like that. I really like the shape of the branch. I love this diagonal line in here. I think diagonals always work well. You haven't got any distracting sky, so that's really good. The thing I would say on this image is that, that there's two things really. One is that there's a little bit down here. Can you see this area here that's a little bit distracting? And then there's another here where this crosses over here, which is a little bit distracting as well. So those two areas, I think you could have probably got around that by just moving to the right a little bit. And if you'd moved to the right a little bit, then this would have stood in this space here, and I think it would have just worked a little bit better. I'm sure there's this tree as well you've got to think about, but I think that's good. And then just cropping that gap out there, so just cropping it to like there, so you get rid of this gap on the left hand side. But apart from that, I love this. I think it's a great image. Okay, on to the next one. So this is an image that I think I'm going to go into Lightroom to look at this image. So I've got the same images in Lightroom. So there's a few things that are really good about this image. The first thing is that you've got some real nice strong diagonals leading you into the image, which I think is really, really good. I think the biggest issue for me is if you zoom in, and by the way, I've had a quick look through these, but I haven't spent a long time on them because I wanted to try and react to them a little bit in the moment. So the only time I've looked at them is when I've actually compiled them and put them into Lightroom. So this one, at the bottom here, you can see it's a little bit out of focus, which I think you get away with, but when you go up to the top, it's also out of focus at the top. So what I'd suggest there is just trying to understand where to focus or how to focus stack. What I'd do if you don't want to focus stack is just try and focus a little bit further away. So maybe if you'd have focused on this rock here, then everything from the back all the way to, you know, a lot closer would have been in focus. The other one thing on this is that the horizon is just a little bit curved. Can you see that there's just it goes down at this right hand side here, and it does the same at the left hand side. So it's just distortion that, and so to do that you can just go to geometry and just sort out the distortion here. If I just click constant crop, then you can see that I can get rid of it really easily just by doing that. Yeah, that should do it. So now we haven't got that. Well, it's a little bit tilted now, so we just have to sort the tilt of it, but not too far off. To be honest, horizons are a real common problem that I see whenever I judge competitions. It's amazing how many images I just discount because the horizon's not straight. So an easy way to test that is just zoom in on your image like this and just go to the top of your screen and just check that it goes straight. And you can see here, I've sorted the distortion, but now it needs rotating to the left a little bit. And that's really easy to do because you can obviously just go and do that in any way you want, and we can just rotate that a little bit to the left like that. Click done, zoom back in, and now it looks perfect. Right, on to the next one. I'm going to go back to the other screen on this. So, oh, I can see who it is. So this is from Nina. So this is a shot from Nina. And actually, this one that sort of stood out to me a little bit when I was looking through. I think there's some really nice things about this image, and there's some things that I think can be improved. I love the shutter speed that you've chosen on this image, just to get, you've still got that sort of element of texture in the water, but you've got that flow element as well. So you can see that, you know, the water's just flowing really nicely down here, and we've got all those nice lines going through. And I think you want to get those lines, but you don't want to lose the texture of the water. So just choosing an appropriate shutter speed. So I'm not sure what shutter speed this is, but it looks like it's probably around about 1/4 of a second, something like that. So the other thing I would say is, if I just get rid of these lines, I think that the right-hand side of this image is a little bit distracting. So I would maybe crop it a little bit like that. The ideal thing on this image, I think, is if you were just sort of to move around to the right, which you would be in the water then. So I realise that's quite difficult. But I feel like you need a better connection between this area and this area. And I think that this needs to be sort of like this area needs to be more to the left, or this needs to be more to the right, so that they connect a bit more like that. And I'd probably have it more of a vertical shot. But yeah, I mean, I like it. Apart from that, I think it's a nice image. Okay, on to the next one. So this one is from Sebastian. So this is, I'm going to go into Lightroom to look at this one. So this one is in the Faroe Islands. I know this really well, and this is an image that I think is, there's a few things that I think are really good about it. I think, and there's a few things that are definitely can be improved. I love the drama. So the drama is really good. You know, you've got these clouds just coming round this cliff at the top here, which I think work really, really nicely. This waterfall is amazing. This town above it is amazing. It's a really well photographed location in the Faroe Islands. I feel like the colour balance is a little bit off. I think it's not quite right, and I feel like and it's very hard in this location. I've had the same problem, but I feel like it's sort of weighted to the right hand side quite a lot. Now, the way to get around that is have the sun coming from the left a little bit more. So you know, you go in there at a different time of year or a different time of day, and I know that's difficult. You might only go there once, but yeah, that would help with that. But I feel like the big thing is if there was a lot more going on in the sea, so big waves crashing, then this would draw your eye a little bit more to the left-hand side. Whereas at the moment, we've just got this area here in the image that's just really prominent. The final thing is just the sky. I think it's a little bit blown out here, and also the shutter speed means that this sky here just looks blurry rather than, I feel like the shutter speed needs to be a lot longer or shorter, or maybe you just blend two images together and you have a shutter speed for the sky and a shutter speed for the waterfall, because this area of the sky for me just doesn't quite work. But I think from a point of view of colour balance, then I would probably have this a little bit greener and a little bit cooler, so just a bit more like that. So you had it like that, I'd just have a little bit cooler. Personal preference, but for me, I think that works a bit better. Okay, this next one, this is from Lee Howdle. Okay, so I recognise Lee's name. So he lives around about where I do, and photographs a lot in the Peak District. This is in the Peak District, really close to where I live actually. So I know this location really well. It's actually a really difficult wall to photograph because I feel like it always gets a little bit heavy on one direction. I feel like that's the problem with this image. However, I think it's an awesome image. So I'd be dead pleased if I took this image. I love the sky. I love this curve in the sky here. It sort of mimics a little bit the curve here in this wall. I always like things that are sort of replicated in the image, and especially with shapes. So I really like that. I like that curve and that curve. I feel like, and it's really hard in this image, so I feel like this area here in the image is a lot of what's of interest. I don't know a way around it, and I'm being really critical, as Lee probably is shouting at the screen now, because I know Lee's a really, really good photographer. But for me, I just feel like you need to rotate a little bit further to the left. If it was just a little bit less on the right and a little bit more on the left, I feel like it might just be a little bit better balanced. I'm being super critical, Lee, but that's the point of, isn't it, of criticism. I'll let everybody criticise my photos again soon. Did that, it was quite painful, but yeah, it's definitely a good way of getting better. The next thing I want to talk about is this camera. Now, I've got another camera. I've got a Z8 that I'm going to be giving away to anybody that's subscribed to my YouTube channel. I want to get to 500,000 subscribers. I've been talking about that for quite a while and I've not got there yet. So subscribe. So this is a camera that I want to give away for a competition that I want to set up for young photographers. For a long time now, I've wanted to support young photographers and I can't really think of a way of doing it. And I've got another idea that I'm going to do throughout next year. But I thought I've got this camera here, a Nikon ZF. It would be really great as a thing to do in January to set up this competition. It's for 16 to 25 year olds. So you've got to be between 16 and 25. And you will have to prove your age if you get through to the later stage of the competition. And basically it's free to enter, so there's no cost to enter. And all the information is going to be on a link in the description. I built the page with Squarespace and you'll see how you can enter. There's going to be a limited number of photos each person can enter, and I'm also going to be offering 10 people, so the top 10 effectively, the opportunity to have some sessions with me so that I can help you either improve your photography or talk a little bit about how you can start making money from your photography if that's what you want to do, if you want to make a career with your photography. So there's going to be a camera and a lens up for grab, and I'll probably throw in a 24 to 120 lens and the Nikon ZF camera, which is an amazing combination. So that'll be the #1 prize, and then there'll be 10 other prizes, which will be the ability to get some sessions with me to talk about your photography. Link in the description. So what I'm trying to do with this, as I say, is just promote young people to get into photography as much as possible. So if you do know anybody, maybe they don't watch my channel at the moment, then please tell them about this competition. It's a landscape competition for photography. This is a woodland shot from Benjamin. And I love this. I think this is a really, really great shot. There's not a lot I can be critical about this. I feel like this diagonal line here looks fantastic. These two trees up here really help to sort of hold your eye into the image. I feel like without those, you know, if we sort of zoomed in and got rid of those, I feel like it would be less of an image. They add more. Sometimes adding more doesn't, but in this case it really does. So I really like those two silver birches. I love the treatment and the edit of here, and you've made it darker here so you draw your eye into this. This is a great example of a really good woodland shot. There's nothing too distracting in it. There's just one thing, and it's a small thing, and I think it can be sorted in the edit, but I can see that you've darkened the sky here. So if I just zoom in, you can see there's a bit of sky here, and you've darkened it. And I feel like you've done that by just doing the exposure and just darkening the exposure. It's difficult for me to show this in an edit because I haven't got that original data, but I wouldn't have darkened it that much. I think just darken it with the whites or the highlights, and you know, even tone the sky a little bit so it tones in with the orange colours down in the foliage here, because that is a bit dark. It just looks a little bit unnatural, and I didn't notice it at first, but when I did, I couldn't take my eyes off it. But Benjamin, this is a great shot, really like it. Okay, so this one, who's this from? So this is from Samantha. So this is a beautiful, beautiful sunset. One of those amazing red skies that you get that's just phenomenal, which I really like. I love this rock pool here. I sort of wish that maybe concentrated a little bit more on this bit here, because I feel like this bit's a little bit boring, but there's a bit more interest here. I do like the cropping though. I think this works. You know, it's not too distracting. You've got a nice line leading in here, which I really like. The main thing is the horizon, really. So if I just zoom in, I'm pretty sure this horizon's not straight. I might be wrong. I am wrong. Well, look at that. This horizon's really straight, Samantha. Sorry, I think it looks tilted because of the hills here, and there's just sort of almost like it feels like it's going to the left-hand side a little bit, and also there's a bit of distortion around here, so it's curved a little bit. But no, the horizon's straight. The one thing I would do is probably I'd change my shutter speed a little bit, because I feel like the shutter speed looks the water looks a bit fluffy. So I'd maybe have a slower shutter speed to get more lines in the shot, and I'd maybe concentrate a bit on this. But I like it. It's a really nice image. Okay, this next one is from Tony, I think. So Tony, this is a good shot of the sunset. There's a couple of things though that I think would improve it. The first is the sun. So I feel like, you know, you've got some sun stars here, but I feel like they're a little bit distracting for me. This one especially, and I feel like the sun needs to be more of a glow rather than this really hard-edged sun. So we can sort that out. I'll show you how to. And I feel like this rock just feels a little bit lost. I feel like, you know, there's not a lot of interest in this. It's nice frozen ground, but I can see that can you see this gate here? I would have gone a little bit further forward and used this gate, and maybe zoomed in a little bit and then got some of the background mist as well, because I feel like there's not really a lot of interest here. This rock, unless you're a lot close to it and make it a lot more dominant in the image, I just feel like it looks a little bit lost. To sort out this sun, I mean, ideally you'd have multiple exposures, but you can really easily just go onto this, and we'll just create a new radiant gradient like this. And if we just go into dehaze, and we'll just do a bit of negative dehaze. Can you see I'm just softening the edge of it by doing negative dehaze? So I've done a video on that. If you just type radial gradient Nigel Danson, then you'll find it on YouTube. And just to soften that, I think would look better. I'd tone it a little bit warmer as well. Okay, let's go on to the next shot. So we've got this one next. So this one's from Gail. Oh, it's good that we've got a few ladies, because we often don't. The people that watch my channel are 80% men, 20% women. So we've had a few from some ladies today, so that's really good. We need more women in photography. So I really like this waterfall. I love this. I like the fact that you've not got too much sky in, so it just draws your eye to this here, which is really good. I love that. I'm not sure about this rock here, because it's a big area that's just distracting. So Gail, I'd have gone a little bit over this rock and taken it here, so that you're not sort of obscuring these waterfalls, because I feel like the waterfalls and this, really you could argue that this here is a stronger image, or just going a bit closer. I feel like this is a good example of where you've just tried to include a little bit too much and this rock's really distracting. So going a bit closer, if you can go back there, would make a big difference. Okay, so let's have a look at the next one. So, yeah, this is pretty good. I saw this when I was sorting them all out. So this is from Wim Solheim, and yeah, this is a phenomenal image. Yeah, everything about this is good. So I love the fact that we've got like this really softness to it. It feels just really early morning. You've created a beautiful exposure to create this movement of the fog, and then we've just got sort of elements that are poking out, like this tree, this church here. You've cropped it really nicely at the edges, so your eye's drawn to this tree, and positioned the tree and the church in the right place. I really like this. There's not a lot that I can criticise about it, if anything, really. Fantastic image. Okay, on to the next one. So this one is from Jeff. So I know where this is, Jeff. This is pretty sure this is in the Peak District. and the lovely heather in the Peak District. I think this might be near Over Owlator. I might be wrong actually, but I think it might be. So my main thought on this one, I love foreground, and I think it's nice to have all these foreground, these grasses in here. But I wonder whether it would be good if I could see a bit more in here. I feel like moving a little bit higher and just sort of getting a little bit more of a peak in there, because there's a lot of foreground. You know, if you look at the foreground, it's taking up probably, I don't know, 4/5 of, this is 4/5, this is a fifth. I feel like this needs to be 3/5 and this needs to be 2/5, and you need to be able to see more going down into the valley. I think that would make a big difference. The other thing is that this light here is just a little bit overpowering. So if it was me, I'd have moved round to the left a little bit and gone up a bit, and I think that would have helped. Or maybe moved around to the right and really embraced the sunlight and bracketed it and concentrated on this bit of heather here. I do like this rock though, so I do like the rock anchoring it. But yeah, good effort. I mean, it's so hard to do shots like this. I could go through my portfolio and find hundreds of shots like this, and yeah, you know, they're really hard to do, especially in the Peak District, because randomly there's not a lot of peaks. Don't know why it's called the Peak District. Okay, the next shot is from Janet, another girl. Brilliant. So this one is I don't know where this is actually. I don't know if I've ever seen this waterfall, so I'm not sure where this is, but it is really, really great shot. It's really nice that you've got the waterfall coming down here and going round. I feel like the editing lets this down a little bit, so let's see if I can sort that out. We'll go back into Lightroom, and we'll go to that image. I feel like you've probably tried to lighten the shadows. Now obviously I'm looking at a JPEG now, but I would darken the shadows a bit more, because I feel like you need to darken this area and lighten the sky. So I'm just going to darken things down a little bit. Lighten those, we'll lighten the highlights, reduce the contrast. But I feel like it's really easy to up the shadows and everything becomes a bit similar, but the sky needs to be a bit brighter, I think. So I would just lighten that sky up a little bit, maybe just the whites. You really, what you want to try and do is get more of a, it's really hard to do this on the JPEG, but you want to get more of a contrast between where the light source is and where the shadows are, so it looks more real. Because if you look at the trees here in this shot, they're just really brightened on this side where I don't think they should have, and you can see a little bit of halo over the top of the trees. So I think it's a really easy thing to do. You can overdo the sliders. Usually it's either masking or the shadow slider, and you've just got to go a little bit, you know, a little bit calmer on it. The final thing on this image is I would have just cropped it a little bit in from this side and probably just gone with that, because I don't think you need that bit on the left hand side. Okay, on to the next one. How's everyone doing with, like, has anybody paused and looking around them? Let me know in the comments how I'm doing as well. You probably disagree with me. If you do, tell me what I've done wrong in the comments, because it's always good to have a thriving comment section, and it really helps with YouTube. And if you're liking the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, 50% of people watching my videos aren't subscribed, then consider subscribing. The link's just below, and that would mean a lot, especially at Christmas. That'd be a great Christmas present. Okay, so this is a nice shot. I feel like on this, do you know what? I think the horizon's not straight. I said this last time and I got it wrong, so let's have a look on this. Yeah, so you can see there, if I just move the horizon down to the bottom, can you see that it's just going up, so it's not quite straight, that horizon. And you can tell that on here as well, because this isn't, it's straight there, but it's, well, maybe you've straightened the castle. But I think there's a little bit of distortion. I think if you just tweak the distortion a little bit, you'll be able to get that horizon straight and the castle straight. For me, I feel like you need to go a little bit closer on one of the rocks So I feel like maybe this rock here that's got a bit of light on it. I always feel like when you've got rocks in the foreground, it's good to find a rock and go really close on it and have the rocks a little bit bigger in the foreground if you can. And then the final thing is the exposure on this. I don't know if we'll be able to see it or not. We probably can't. No XEF information. But I think the exposure is such that it's maybe about 8 seconds or something. But it means that the sky, again, is looking a bit blurry. I feel like I want a really moving sky, like a 40-50 second exposure or something where the sky's really crisp. I think somewhere in between that never looks right. So I try and tweak that a little bit. Okay, this one is from Toby Parkins. So, I mean, this is a pretty impressive shot in terms of, it's got a lot of drama in it. I love the editing on this because you've not overdone it. So if you look at the histogram, you've not got any whites in here, and I think that's probably right. You know, there's probably nothing that was true white in this image, and I think that's great. My problem with this image, I think, now I'm looking at it a little bit more, is that everything's sort of happening in this area and this bit here. So I think that this would look better as a letterbox where you crop it down there and crop off some of the foreground, but keep this puddle in. Because I feel that you're then drawn a little bit more to this and this, which are nicely placed in the middle of the image, whereas before, I don't think that was the case. So I think that crop makes a really big difference. If it was me, I'd just add a little bit more contrast to this as well, and probably brighten it up a tiny bit, but not too much. I don't want to bring up the whites too white, but I'd definitely brighten it up a little bit. Yeah, so just giving it a little bit more punch. But I do love this shot. I think it's absolutely amazing. I wish I'd taken it. Right, what we've got 5-6 shots left. This is the next one from Tony. So, Tony, this is in Iceland. So this is a good example of something where there's a real sort of juxtaposition. I think that might be a good word. I'm going to draw on this because I think that would be a better way of doing it. So I feel like this, I like this rock, but I feel like there's a big area here that's not really doing a lot. I know it draws your eye in, but it's a big part of the image. And then I feel like there's a very tight bit up here that sort of quite feels claustrophobic almost. So you've got this wide expanse and then this claustrophobic bit there, and I feel like this rock's the same, and I almost feel like this is quite close to this edge. So I feel like we've got 1, 2, 3 very claustrophobic elements and then this big open element, and I feel like just juxtaposition between those two things just doesn't work. So for me, I would have concentrated maybe on just concentrating on maybe one waterfall, definitely having a little bit more sky, or no sky and just concentrating on this waterfall here with the background mountain. But there's a lot of things competing for your attention in this image, and yeah, it just needs a positional change. It's not a bad image. I'm not saying it's a bad image. You know, it's a decent image, and again, it's a sort of image that I've taken so many times, then got back and thought, oh, I'm not sure what's wrong with that, and then finally you work it out. This one here is in Wales. I think that's Tryfan. Yeah, it's a really amazing location. I've taken a pretty similar shot to this, and I feel like I made the same mistake that I think you might have made as well. Everyone's going to shout at me now because everyone's going to go, that's an amazing image. Now, the exposure, I feel, is too bright, but I can get over that. I don't think that's a big problem. But for me, the big problem is around just where this wall line's going, and then you can only just see the lake, and then this is sort of touching the lake. I just feel like, again, it's a bit claustrophobic in this middle area here. I love this gate, I love these grasses, I love the wall, I love Tryfan in the background, but for me, I would have just concentrated, forgot this and concentrated on this area, and maybe just got a little bit higher It's difficult around here. I know there's a lot of rocks and things, but just trying to get a little bit higher so that you can get more of this midground in here to connect you with Triffin in the background. I think that would have made a stronger image. It's so easy to sit here and say and criticize images, isn't it? But that's what I've got to do. That's what the title of the video is. Okay, the next one. So this is a beautiful wave here, and you've got a nice shutter speed on it. You know, it's breaking really nicely. Again, a little bit like that other image, I feel like there's a lot going on in this image that's distracting you from the actual interest. The interest is here. So this is what's really, really interesting. These other elements need to support that, and I feel like they're not doing in this image. I feel like there's a lot of distraction in this way that then takes you out of the image, and I think this rock is quite distracting as well. And then it also almost just leans heavy to the right-hand side as well. So that's definitely something to think about on this image. Yeah, I think that's it really. How's the horizon? The horizon's not quite straight. It's amazing how many horizons. Like, if you were entering a competition, I guarantee that that would be the first thing a judge would do, because when you're in a competition, you've got thousands of images to judge. And I'm not saying that, who took this, because I'm being quite critical here, aren't I? So let's see who it is and apologise. So Marcus, I'm not saying, I've done shots like this so many times. So we all have taken shots like this, and I've got horizons wrong in the past. I've sent images to Nikon for big things on the wall. They've come back and said, I think your horizon's off. So I do it all the time, but now, just to check it, you can do that, and that horizon's off. If you entered this into a competition, you would definitely just get thrown out. It's the easiest way to get rid of it, basically. Okay, the next shot, or the penultimate shot, is this one. I actually quite like this, and I feel like this is a shot that really could have, if we just crop this, I feel like you can just crop that and that here. And it's this which is really interesting. I don't think you need that top and bottom element to it. I feel like that's, you know, it's this pond and these lilies that were really interesting. It would have been interesting, I think, to go a bit lower and experiment with trying to get some reflection of these trees just appearing in the bottom of this lake, but not touching the lilies. I think that would have been interesting. Your sky's quite dull, but to be honest, this image is all about shapes and textures and these lilies and the shapes of these, so I think that sort of works. So thanks for that, Joanna. Another girl, yes. Maybe my viewership's changing a little bit. Okay, the final one from Kagendran is this woodland, and do you know what? I actually think this is a really well seen image, and you've done really well. There's no fog, you've just used the foliage to create some simplicity in this image. For me, I feel like you could make it even stronger by cropping it. I'm fairly sure, I've not tried this obviously, but I'm fairly sure just cropping that in and getting rid of that tree and just really focusing on this tree in the middle would make a big difference to this. I feel like that is a better image. I love the fact you've got this ivy here and this ivy here, and then this tree here. The other thing I'd probably do is, in this image, is maybe just make it a little bit darker, just make me a bit more moody, because I feel like that could really create something amazing. Let's try one of our presets on that, because it could be good. So we'll just crop that to there, and then we'll try. I don't think I've got my woodland presets on here, have I? Yeah, I think the Lean Fell one's good. I haven't got my woodland presets on here. I've just reinstalled my iPad and not put them on. But yeah, I think just darker and moodier looks good in that image. I hope you've enjoyed that. I think it's always good to critique images. If you've got a friend or you're part of a camera club, then going and critiquing each other's image is a great way to get better. I love it when other people I ask my friends all the time to critique my photos. Whether they're photography friends or not, I don't think it matters, because I think it's just good to get opinions. I just want to talk about Squarespace. Squarespace are a fantastic platform if you want to build your own website. You don't need any technical skills. Maybe it's a great New Year's resolution to build a website for your photos. Get away from Instagram and Facebook and just get control of the quality of your photos. Squarespace allows you to create galleries, sell your prints, sell your calendars, even create workshops that you can sell on Squarespace as well. So if you want to check out Squarespace, you can use squarespace.com/Nigel and get 10% off, and also use the offer code Nigel. Go and check it out. It's a fantastic platform for your website. Okay, so I'm going to give away this print. So basically what I'm going to do, you're going to see on screen now all the names that are going to enter an image, and I'm going to shout stop, and I'm going to, when I do the edit, I'm just going to stop it randomly on a name, and they're going to win this print. This is a print that I've not got for sale yet. It's in my calendar, but yeah, it's going to be a limited edition print, and I'm going to sign it, and it's going to go to
Josh Groteman. So Josh,
if you just send me a contact form through my website, I will post you this, sign it and post it. Okay, that's it for this Sunday's video. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been quite a long one, and until next Sunday, bye.